My son and daughter-in-law told me they trusted me. They asked me to keep an eye on their house while they were away for a week. As I left, they even gave me a bottle of wine with a smile. But they forgot to turn off the cameras. Or maybe they didn't want to turn them off. At first, I didn't realize I was being recorded, but then I found the footage. I heard Jessica's voice, laughing, the old caregiver who puts up with everything. That's when I understood. This wasn't trust. It was a test. But I wasn't the silent one anymore. Not this time. This time, the cameras didn't catch me. They exposed them. If this story touched your soul, click subscribe and let me know in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'm genuinely curious where you're watching from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I'm 67 years old and live alone in a small house in Springfield, Illinois. After losing my husband Henry 3 years ago, life slowed down for me. My son Daniel and daughter-in-law Jessica live in Chicago, about a 3-hour drive from here. Daniel is my only child and I love him dearly, but to be honest, Jessica and I never got along. Jessica, how can I describe her? She's a woman with perfect makeup, perfect hair, a perfect home. Everything is a showcase for her. She has thousands of followers on social media. She puts her life on display, but to me, she never really lives. She changed Daniel too. He used to be a warm, thoughtful son, but now he talks to me while looking at his phone. Have you ever felt like a stranger in your own family? Like you no longer belong in their world? It was the end of April. Daniel called me. "Mom, I have a favor to ask," he said on the phone. His voice sounded tired. "Jessica and I are going to Mexico. A week-long vacation. Could you keep an eye on our house?" My heart warmed. Finally, they needed me. "Of course, son. When?" "Next Monday. I'll leave the key with you. It's very simple. Just water the plants, collect the mail, and make sure everything is okay inside the house." "Of course," I said. "Don't worry." Jessica said something in the background, but I couldn't make out what she said. "Mom, one more thing," Daniel said. He paused. "There are security cameras in the house. I'm just letting you know. At the door, in the living room, in the kitchen. Everything is being recorded." A strange feeling came over me. "So, are you going to record me?" "No, no, not like that," he said quickly. "It's just for security. Against thieves and such. We won't turn them off just because you're there. You won't do anything anyway." "You won't do anything anyway." That sentence stuck in my head. Why did you say that, Daniel? I'm your mother. Why do I need to be monitored by cameras? But I didn't say anything. I just smiled on the phone, even though he couldn't see me. "I understand, son. It's okay." When Monday morning came, Daniel and Jessica met me in front of their house, their mansion in Wilmette, an affluent suburb of Chicago. A 3-story, white-fronted house with perfect landscaping. The interior looked like it had come straight out of an architecture magazine. Jessica gave me such a fake smile. "Margaret, you look great," she said, but her eyes scanned me from head to toe. In my old cardigan and jeans, I probably looked like a sack of potatoes next to them. Daniel handed me the keys and showed me where everything was in the house: the plants, the thermostat, the alarm system, and of course the cameras. "Look, Mom, this one's in the living room," Daniel said, pointing to a small white device. "This one's in the kitchen. There's another one by the back door." "Don't worry, Margaret," said Jessica, suitcase in hand. "Just make yourselves comfortable. You can have some of our wine if you like." She smiled and handed me what looked like an expensive bottle. "I picked it out for you. French Merlot. Have you ever felt like someone was thinking of something else when they gave you a gift?" "Thank you very much," I said, but when I took the bottle, my heart sank. This wasn't kindness. It was a bribe. Or maybe a test. After they left, I was alone in the house. Silence filled my ears, and then I noticed the little green lights. The cameras were on. They were watching me. The first day, I just watered the plants and watched TV. I sat in a chair, made a cup of tea. But I kept looking at those little white boxes. They were looking at me too. On the second day, curiosity got the better of me. I went into Jessica's study. The door wasn't locked. Inside, it was tidy and sterile, her white desk, design books on the shelves, a huge computer screen, and framed certificates hanging on the wall. Jessica Reynolds. Interior Design Certificate. Jessica Reynolds. Social Media Marketing Professional. All from online courses. No real university degree. Strange. I opened the drawer of her desk. There was a planner inside. I flipped through the pages. Appointments, notes. and one line caught my attention. M. Sullivan. Observation week. Collect evidence. M. Sullivan. That's me. Margaret Sullivan. Has your blood ever run cold? That's how I felt at that moment. My heart started racing. Evidence? What evidence? For what? I flipped through the back pages of the planner. There were other notes. Late night activity. Check cameras. Wine consumption record. Signs of erratic behavior. I was about to lose my mind. They were testing me. But why? I tried to open his computer, but it was password protected. I took out my phone and thought about calling Daniel, but I changed my mind. Not yet. I needed to find out more first. That evening, I opened the wine bottle. I poured a full glass and went into the living room. I sat directly in front of the camera, and as I sipped that red liquid, I looked straight into the camera. To your health, I said aloud. To Jessica and Daniel. I hope they have a wonderful vacation. And I drank. But only a sip. I poured the rest down the sink. On the afternoon of the third day, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I saw a young woman, 25, maybe 30 years old. Dark-haired, wearing glasses, holding a file. "Hello, are you Margaret Sullivan?" she asked. "Yes, come in." "I'm Amanda Briggs. Daniel and Jessica hired me to help you at home." I froze in shock. "I'm sorry, but they didn't mention anything like this to me." Amanda smiled slightly. "They didn't want to surprise you. I'll just be sharing the house with you. Daniel said you shouldn't be alone." I swallowed hard. What was this all about? "Please, come in," I said. I didn't know what to do. Amanda came in, carrying a small suitcase and a backpack. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Sullivan. I'll stay in the guest room upstairs. I won't bother you at all." But I was already uncomfortable. Was this part of the plan? Had they sent someone to watch me? Amanda took her suitcase upstairs. I stood in the kitchen waiting. A few minutes later, she came down and gave me a strange look. "Would you like something to drink?" I asked. "No, thank you. I'll just do my work." "What do you do?" He paused. "I'm a law student, and I take on various part-time jobs." A law student. Interesting. That evening, Amanda stayed in her room. I sat in the living room, pretending to watch TV, but my mind was elsewhere. Why here? Why now? Around midnight, I got thirsty. I got up to go to the kitchen. As I quietly walked down the stairs, I saw that Amanda's door was ajar. Light was coming from inside. Curiosity drew me closer. The door wasn't fully open, but I could peek inside. Amanda was sitting at her desk, a pile of papers in front of her. She was reading, carefully, taking notes. And I noticed something. There was something written at the top of the papers. "Incompetency proceedings, Margaret Sullivan." Have you ever felt beyond disappointment? Have you ever been so shocked you couldn't even feel anger? My feet stuck to the floor. Incompetency proceedings. A case of incompetency. Were they trying to declare me mentally ill? I went to bed, but couldn't sleep. I thought about it all night. Why would Daniel and Jessica subject me to something like this? Money? My house in Springfield? Henry's inheritance? By morning, I'd made a decision. I wouldn't be a silent victim, but I had to act wisely. On the fourth day, I waited for Amanda to go out. "I'm going grocery shopping," she had said. As soon as she left, I went upstairs. I entered her room. There were files on her desk. I took them, flipped through the pages, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. The first document was a letter written by Jessica to a lawyer. The title read, "Petition for Guardianship, Margaret Sullivan." The content was as follows. Margaret Sullivan, 67 years old, seems to have lost her decision-making ability recently. She consumes excessive alcohol in the middle of the night and behaves erratically at home. She shows signs of memory loss. She cannot be allowed to make financial decisions. Her son Daniel and I request that legal guardians be appointed for her. My hand trembled. It was a lie. It was all a lie. But there was worse. The next page contained screenshots from camera recordings, me drinking wine, me rummaging through the room, all taken out of context, making me look like I had truly lost my mind. And finally, a note. Amanda Briggs will document additional behavioral evidence during observation week. So Amanda wasn't a spy. She was a witness. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and took photos of every page, every single one, every document. This was my only weapon. When Amanda returned, I was sitting in the living room as if nothing had happened. "How are you, Mrs. Sullivan?" she asked. "I'm very well, Amanda," I said with a smile. "I'm very well." But a plan was beginning to form inside me. If they were testing me, I would test them too. And this time, I would be the one who won. On the morning of the 5th day, Amanda was making coffee in the kitchen. I sat down at the table, as if everything was normal, but inside, a storm was brewing. I hadn't slept at all that night. Those documents kept spinning around in my head. Incompetency proceedings, Margaret Sullivan, my own name, on a court document, as if I were a criminal. Have you ever felt vulnerable when you found out that people you trusted had betrayed you? "Amanda," I said gently, filling my cup and sitting down at the table. "I didn't want to disturb you last night, but I saw you working. Legal files?" She nearly dropped the cup in her hand. She turned, her face tense. There was panic in her eyes, like a thief caught red-handed. Yes, for school. Case studies," she said. But her voice was trembling. "I understand," I said. I looked directly at him. I looked into his eyes and didn't look away. "What are you specializing in? Criminal law? Family law?" He swallowed. It was as if there was a large lump in his throat. "Family law." "Interesting," I said, sipping my coffee. "My Henry was a lawyer too, a labor rights lawyer. He worked in Springfield for 30 years. Even after he retired, he volunteered at a local legal center. He especially helped older people, guardianship cases, estate planning, things like that." That was a lie. Henry was an electrical engineer. But Amanda couldn't know that, and I was gauging her reaction. "Really?" Amanda said, sounding a bit relieved. Her shoulders relaxed. "Then law isn't foreign to you." "Not at all," I said, adding another sugar to my coffee. "Especially probate cases. Henry had a few. It gets very complicated, doesn't it? Especially when elderly people are involved. Families tear themselves apart. Children try to have their parents declared incompetent, usually for money, for inheritance." Amanda's face was growing paler. Her lips trembled. "Yes, it's quite complicated," she said, but her voice was barely audible. "The worst part," I continued, setting down my cup and looking directly at Amanda, "is that some lawyers do this. They target people who aren't actually incompetent. Elderly, lonely, vulnerable people. Henry once told me, 'Margaret, if someone tries to do this to you, never stay silent, because this isn't just a legal battle. It's a battle for honor.' Have you ever tested someone's lie to their face?" I did just that in that moment. Amanda didn't say anything. She just looked at me. In her eyes, there was guilt, fear, and maybe a little regret. "Anyway," I said as I got up, "I'm going out to the garden. I need to check on the flowers. I have to water Daniel's roses. A mother always cares about what her children love." I went out to the backyard, but I didn't actually stay there. It was a trap. I quietly slipped back inside through the side door and hid in the small closet under the stairs. Henry's old coats were still there. I smelled him, that old safe smell. It was as if he was saying to me, "Be strong, Margaret." A few minutes later, Amanda pulled out her phone. She was trembling as she called someone. "Jessica, we have a problem," she said quietly, but I could hear her from inside the closet. "Margaret, I think she knows something." She started talking about the law. Guardianship cases, broken families, lawyers targeting elderly people. "Jessica, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. It's not right." I could hear Jessica's voice on the phone, but I couldn't make out exactly what she was saying. Just the tone, sharp, angry, domineering. No, I haven't gathered any concrete evidence yet," Amanda said. Her voice sounded helpless. But Jessica, she's normal, perfectly normal. She's of sound mind. Nothing is wrong. You can't take this to court. A judge wouldn't believe it. Jessica said something. Amanda took a deep breath. $5,000. I know. But, okay. Okay. One more day. But then I'm leaving. I'm sorry. I I can't do this. She hung up the phone, and then I heard a soft sob. Amanda was crying. That's when I realized Amanda wasn't one of them. She was just a young girl who had been deceived. I came out from where I was hiding. Amanda was sitting at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, crying. She jumped when she saw me. Mrs. Sullivan, I... Listen, Amanda, I said, approaching her. I heard everything. And now I'm going to talk to you honestly. I'm sorry, she said through her tears. I'm so sorry. I just... Stop, I said. I raised my hand. Let me speak first. I know why you're here. Jessica and Daniel brought you. You're going to gather evidence against me, about me not being of sound mind, because they want to have me declared incompetent. Amanda's face went pale. She stopped crying and just stared at me in shock. How? How do you know? Because I went into your room, Amanda, I said. Yesterday morning, while you were at the market, I saw the files on your desk. The guardianship case documents, Jessica's letter to the lawyer, the fake evidence, the camera footage, everything. Amanda shook her head. Oh my God, what have I done? Listen, Amanda, I said, pulling up a chair and sitting next to her. You're wrong about this, but you're not guilty. Jessica manipulated you. She offered you money, and you accepted, because law school is expensive, right? And you're desperate. How? Because I'm an observer, Amanda, I said. I've lived 67 years. I've learned to read people. I saw your old shoes, your worn-out bag. I noticed you bought the cheapest items at the market. You're not rich, and Jessica used that. Amanda started crying again. She offered me $5,000, just to observe you for a week. She said if I saw any concerning behavior, I had to note it. But Mrs. Sullivan, there's nothing wrong with you. You're a normal, intelligent, kind woman. Thank you, Amanda, I said softly. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. If you're honest, I can help you. But if you lie, this conversation ends here. Do we have a deal? Amanda nodded. We're agreed. Good, I said. Now tell me, what exactly did Jessica want from you? Amanda took a deep breath and began to speak. And what she told me surpassed even my worst fears. Jessica contacted me about 3 weeks ago, Amanda said. I'm studying law at Northwestern. I saw an ad on the school bulletin board. It said, short-term assistant wanted, good pay. There was a phone number. I called. Jessica answered. She was very professional, very persuasive. She said her husband's mother was getting old, and they were worried. They were just looking for someone to stay with you for a week while they were on vacation and observe your daily routine. Nothing dangerous, just observation. At first it seemed strange to me, Amanda continued, but then Jessica said families do this kind of thing now. She called it elder care consultation, elder care consulting. It's especially common in Chicago. I believed her. When did the money come? I asked. During our second conversation, Amanda said. Jessica said that if I reported significant findings, I'd get $5,000, but if I found nothing, just $1,000. That was the manipulation. Jessica was encouraging Amanda to find something. And then what happened? I asked. A week ago, Jessica sent me some files. By email. There was a form in it. It said, Behavioral Observation Checklist. Signs of memory loss, confusion, inappropriate behavior, hygiene issues, alcohol consumption. I had to note all of these down. Was there anything specific for me? Amanda lowered her head. Yes. Jessica specifically told me to pay attention to alcohol consumption. She said you had a problem in the past, and if I saw you drinking late at night, I had to record it. But nothing like that happened, I said. No, Amanda said. On the first night, you opened that bottle of wine. You poured a glass. But then you poured it down the sink. I saw it. Not on camera, I was coming down the stairs. I heard it from the kitchen. I smiled. Because I hadn't realized yet. But I felt something was wrong. And the next few days you were just normal, Amanda said. You read books, watched TV, tended the garden. Nothing unusual. I called Jessica and said, I can't find anything. She said, keep going. Something will happen. But it didn't. No, because there's nothing wrong with you, Mrs. Sullivan. I looked at her. This young woman had been deceived, but her heart was pure. Amanda, I said, I'm going to make you an offer. Help me, do the right thing, and I'll give you that $5,000. But this time, you'll earn it honestly. Amanda looked at me in astonishment. How can I help? Jessica wants proof, I said. We'll give her proof, but this time it will show the truth. That afternoon, I returned to my home in Springfield. Yes, I had only come to Chicago for a week. My real home was still in Springfield, a 3-hour drive. I made up an excuse for Daniel. I have to go to my doctor. I'll be back tomorrow. He agreed. When I got home, I went down to the basement. The box where I kept Henry's old files was there, on dusty shelves. I opened the box and took out Henry's old business cards and notes. Henry was an electrical engineer, but he had a very wide social circle. He had many lawyer friends because he worked with labor unions. I found one of them. Richard Perlman, family law attorney, Springfield, Illinois. I called Richard. He had come to Henry's funeral after he died. If you ever need anything, Margaret, don't hesitate, he had said at the time. Richard Perlman, he said on the phone. Richard, I'm Margaret Sullivan, Henry's wife. Margaret, of course I remember you. How are you? Is everything okay? No, Richard, I said. Everything is not okay. And I need urgent legal help. I told him everything. Jessica's plan, the fake evidence, Amanda, the cameras, everything. Richard groaned in anger. Margaret, this is outright legal harassment. And if they're fabricating evidence, that's a serious crime. Fraud, defamation, maybe even elder abuse. Send me the files. I'll take care of it. But Richard, I said, I don't just want to win the case. I want to expose them. I want them to pay for what they've done. Richard was silent for a moment. Then he laughed. You're definitely Henry's wife, Margaret. He would have said the same thing. What do you think? I'll use the cameras to my advantage, I said. While they're watching me, I'll be watching them. They're coming back tomorrow evening. I need 24 hours. I'll prepare. All right, Richard said. I'll come to Chicago tomorrow, too. I'll be there with you. If there's going to be a confrontation, a lawyer should be ready. Thank you, Richard. No problem, Margaret. Henry did a lot for me. Now it's my turn. When I returned to Chicago, it was evening. Amanda was waiting for me anxiously. Mrs. Sullivan, is everything okay? She asked. Everything's great, I said. Now I'll explain the plan. We sat down at the table. I pulled out a piece of paper and drew a sketch, the floor plan of the house. There are 7 cameras in this house, I said. The living room, the kitchen, the front door, the back door, the stairs, the hallway. Daniel only showed me 3 of them, but I found them all. Amanda was surprised. How did you find them? Because technology is easier than you think, Amanda. Small devices, green lights. If you look closely, you'll see them. So, what are we going to do? 2 things, I said. First, we'll record footage from these cameras that works in our favor. Second, Jessica will record all the documents and upload them to the cloud system. That way, even if they try to delete them later, we'll have the evidence. But how can we access the system? Amanda asked. You seem more tech-savvy than I am, I said. Do you have any ideas about cracking the password? Amanda felt a little embarrassed. Actually, yes. I took a cybersecurity course in college. But this might be illegal. No, I said, because this is my son's house, and I'm a guest here. Accessing the system for my own safety is considered legitimate defense. Amanda wasn't convinced, but she opened her laptop. She tried to access the system for a few minutes. She failed. I can't get in without the password, she said. Daniel's passwords are always simple, I said. They've been that way since he was a kid. Birthdays, names, important dates. Try, Jessica, 2020. Amanda typed it. Failed. Daniel, 1985. Daniel's birth year? Failed. Dan Jess, 2020. Failed. I thought about it. What could it be? Then it occurred to me. When Daniel was little, we had a dog, Max. He loved him very much. And Max was born in 2010. I said, Max Sullivan 2010. Amanda typed. Ting. The system opened. Wow, said Amanda. We're in. That's when I realized technology betrays people, but human nature betrays them even more. All the camera recordings were on the screen in front of us. The entire last 5 days. Me drinking tea, reading a book, sitting in the garden. Everything had been recorded. My private moments, my alone time, all of it was being watched. My heart sank, but I also felt angry. What do we do now? Amanda asked. Now, I said, we'll make our own recording. Amanda took out her phone camera and recorded me. We went into the living room. I sat directly opposite Daniel and Jessica's cameras. I placed my hands on my knees, sat up straight, and began to speak. My name is Margaret Sullivan. Today is Friday, the 26th of April 2025. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. I am 67 years old, and my mind is completely sound. I paused. I took a breath. For the past 5 days, I have been secretly monitored by my son, Daniel Sullivan, and my daughter-in-law, Jessica Reynolds. They tested me. They recorded me with cameras. They sent a law student named Amanda Briggs to observe me. Their goal was to have me declared incompetent. They tried to gather evidence to file a guardianship case. My voice began to tremble, but I continued. Why? Because my house in Springfield is valuable. Because Henry left me an inheritance, $150,000. Because I live alone, and they thought I was an easy target. Tears started to come, but I didn't wipe them away. But I'm not an easy target. I'm a mother, a wife, a woman, and an honorable person. I've lived honestly my whole life. I loved my husband. I raised my son. And now that son is betraying me. Have you ever felt the power of your own voice? I felt it in that moment. Jessica Reynolds, I said, looking directly into the camera. You don't know me. You think I'm weak, old, ignorant, but I am Henry Sullivan's wife. And he taught me never be silent, never accept defeat, never let anyone question your worth. Daniel, I said, my voice now softened. My son, if you're watching this, know that I still love you, but I'm deeply disappointed in you. You're a Sullivan, and we Sullivans don't do dishonorable things. I paused the recording. Amanda was wiping her eyes. Mrs. Sullivan, that was incredible, she said. We're not done yet, I said. Now, we're going to copy all of Jessica's files. The letter she wrote to the lawyer, the fake behavior reports, everything. And we'll upload it to this camera system. So it will be part of the recordings. Amanda got to work. She scanned the files, uploaded the PDFs to the system. She saved everything to the cloud. And she did one last thing. She automatically activated the camera's audio recording. Everything will be recorded tomorrow, Amanda said. Every word, every confrontation. Perfect, I said. Now I need to make one final preparation. The 6th day, Saturday, was Daniel and Jessica's return day. Their flight was scheduled to land at 6 in the evening. Early in the morning, Richard Perlman arrived in Chicago. I met him at a cafe near the house. Margaret, he said, hugging me. How are you? Are you ready? I'm ready, Richard. Are you ready? He smiled. I'm always ready. I have the documents with me. If they threaten us, we'll file a counterclaim. If they regret it, we'll make a deal. Everything is ready. Thank you. You're welcome. But Margaret, I have a question. If Daniel truly regrets it, what will you do to him? I paused. I had asked myself that question too. I don't know, Richard, I said. He's my son, but he caused me a lot of pain. Forgiving him won't be easy. I understand, Richard said. But remember, forgiveness isn't for him, it's for you. Living with anger will destroy you. I looked at him. Henry used to say that too. Because Henry was a wise man. In the afternoon, I returned home. Amanda and I made the final preparations. We arranged the living room. We made sure all the cameras were working. And we hid Richard in the guest room upstairs. After I let them in, I'll give the signal, I told Richard. Then you come down. Understood, he said. When 5 o'clock came, Amanda and I sat in the living room. We waited. My heart was racing. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Have you ever felt like you were experiencing the most important moment of your life? That moment was like that. At 7:15, the door opened. Daniel and Jessica walked in, with their suitcases tanned, smiling. They had returned from their vacation in Mexico. Mom, Daniel said, hugging me. How are you? We missed you so much. Was everything okay? I hugged him. Maybe for the last time, I thought to myself. Everything was perfect, son, I said, smiling. How was the vacation? It was amazing, Jessica said. Her gaze was cold, but she was trying to smile. Cancun was amazing. I hope we didn't tire you out too much. Did you get along well with Amanda? We got along very well, I said. In fact, we have a surprise for you. Jessica furrowed her brows. A surprise? Yes. But first, please sit down, I said. I need to show you something. Daniel and Jessica looked at each other. They found it strange, but sat down. Amanda stood silently beside me. Last week, I began, my voice calm but firm. You tested me. You watched me. You recorded me with cameras. You sent Amanda to observe me. And I know the goal was to declare me unfit. Silence. Dead silence. Daniel's face went pale. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Jessica immediately jumped to his defense. Margaret, what is this? What nonsense are you talking about? We didn't test you. Don't lie, Jessica, I said coldly. I took out my phone and showed her the photos of her files on the screen. These are your files. The guardianship case documents. The guardianship petition. The letter you wrote to the lawyer. You hired Amanda Briggs to gather evidence against me. It's all here. Jessica jumped to her feet. Her face was red. Amanda, what did you tell her? I hired you for money. We had an agreement. Amanda also stood up. Yes, Jessica, we had an agreement. But I won't lie. There's nothing wrong with Mrs. Sullivan. You wanted me to fabricate evidence. And I won't do that. Damn it, Jessica shouted. You're nothing. You said you'd do anything for $5,000. No, said Amanda, her voice trembling but determined. I said I would observe. I said I would report the truth. But the truth is that Mrs. Sullivan is completely normal. And you knew that. You just wanted her money. At that moment, Jessica's mask slipped. Yes, Jessica screamed. Yes, I want her money, because we deserve it. Daniel is her son. That inheritance should be ours. That old woman lives alone in that house. She's not even using the money. Why should we wait? Why until she dies? Jessica! Daniel jumped to his feet. His face was a mix of anger and shock. What are you saying? This is horrible. Jessica turned to him. Wake up, Daniel. Your mother is getting old. One day that money will be ours, so why not now? We live in Chicago. We live in a mansion, but we still pay rent. She lives in a small house in Springfield and sits on a $150,000 inheritance. That money is my mother's, Daniel shouted. The money my father left her. You tricked me. You said my mother was sick. You said we should worry. You said we had to protect her. And you believed it, Jessica said, without a trace of shame. Because you're weak, Daniel. You've always lived in your mother's shadow. Henry's son, Margaret's son. You've never stood on your own 2 feet. Has anyone ever seen the true face of the person they loved? For Daniel, that was the moment. Daniel stepped back, as if slapped. His eyes filled with tears. You never loved me, did you? Jessica laughed. A cold, cruel laugh. You, Daniel, you were a tool. A nice house, a good income, and a rich mother. I planned it. Everything. Enough, I said, unable to take it any more. Jessica, this game is over. You lost. Jessica turned to me, her eyes blazing. I didn't lose, old woman. Because you have no proof. Yes, I made plans, but I did nothing. I didn't go to court. I didn't file a lawsuit. You're just paranoid. Is that so? I said. And I nodded toward Amanda. Amanda opened her laptop and connected it to the big screen TV. The letter Jessica had written to the lawyer appeared on the screen. Margaret Sullivan, 67 years old, appears to have lost her capacity to make decisions. Memory loss, alcohol consumption, erratic behavior. We request that a guardian be appointed. Jessica's face paled. Where did you find this? From your files, I said. From Amanda's room. And now everything is in the cloud, recorded, can't be deleted. And one more thing, said Amanda, opening another file. Camera footage appeared on the screen, me drinking wine, but then images taken out of context, manipulated. These are your fake evidence too, Jessica. You were going to present this in court. Jessica looked around in panic. No, this is illegal. You stole my private files. No, said a voice from behind. Richard Perlman descended the stairs. He was wearing a suit, carrying a briefcase. This is legitimate defense, Mrs. Reynolds. The lawsuit you planned against Mrs. Sullivan constitutes legal harassment, and these files prove your intent. Who are you? Jessica shouted. I'm Richard Perlman. I'm Mrs. Sullivan's lawyer. And now I'm listening to you. Either you end this now, or I'll file a countersuit. Fraud, defamation, elder abuse. For all of it. And believe me, Illinois courts take a very hard line on elder abuse. At that moment, Jessica realized everything was over. Jessica's legs trembled. She collapsed into the chair. I just... Just what, Jessica? I asked. Did you just want my money? Did you just manipulate my son? Did you just try to steal my honor? Tears began to well up in my eyes, but not from sadness anymore, from anger. I never did you any harm, Jessica. I accepted you into my family. I cried at your wedding. I prayed for your happiness. And this is what you did to me. Daniel came over to me. He knelt down. Mom, please forgive me. I acted like such a fool. I trusted Jessica, but most of all, I betrayed you. You're my mom. You did everything for me. And He started crying, big sobbing tears. Mom, please, I understand if you can't forgive me, but know that I've always loved you, and I always will. I looked at him. My son, my little boy. Here now, broken, regretful. Is forgiving easy? No, but he was still my son. I leaned down and stroked his hair. Daniel, I said, you made a mistake. A big mistake. But you're not a bad person. You were just weak. And Jessica took advantage of that. Mom, but now you have to make a choice, I said. You'll either be with me or with her. You can't be both. Daniel turned to Jessica. He stood up. His face was now determined. Jessica, he said, this is over. I'm divorcing you. Jessica screamed. What? Because of me? I did everything for you, Daniel. No, said Daniel, his voice now hard and clear. You did everything for yourself. You used me. You targeted my mother. And now it's over. Tomorrow I'm going to my lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. Don't, Jessica said. Daniel, please, I love you. No, you don't, Daniel said. And I don't love you anymore. Jessica turned to me, hatred in her eyes. This is your fault. You came between us. You took my son away from me. No, Jessica, I said calmly. I just showed you the truth. You destroyed yourself. Richard stepped forward. Mrs. Reynolds, we need to leave now. If you want to hire a lawyer, do so. The divorce proceedings will begin, and if you make any move against Mrs. Sullivan, I will take immediate action. Is that clear? Jessica said nothing. She just stood up, took her bag, and walked to the door. She paused at the threshold. You'll regret this, she said. All of you will regret this. And she slammed the door as she left. The rest of that night passed in silence. Daniel went upstairs and locked himself in his room. Amanda and Richard left. I gave Richard a check $5,000 for Amanda. The price of honesty, I said. Amanda cried. Mrs. Sullivan, I thank you. I've learned so much from you. You taught me a lot too, Amanda, I said. That young people can still be honest. I thanked Richard too. Henry would have been proud to see you, he said. You're a very strong woman, Margaret. A month later, I was at my house in Springfield. I was drinking tea in my garden. The spring flowers were blooming: daffodils, hyacinths, tulips, Henry's favorite flowers. Daniel was sitting next to me. The divorce process with Jessica had begun. She had moved out of the mansion in Chicago and was staying with a friend. Daniel had decided to stay with me in Springfield. Mom, Daniel said. You know, I had forgotten how strong you are. Me too, I said, smiling. But Henry reminded me. How? Daniel asked, surprised. In my dream, I said. I saw him in my dream last week. He said, Margaret, you're a Sullivan, and we Sullivans never give up. Daniel smiled. His eyes were filled with tears. My father was right. He was always right. We drank our tea, in silence. But this time, it was a peaceful silence. Mom, Daniel said after a while, I found a job. Here, in Springfield, at a construction company. The pay isn't as good as Chicago, but I can be here with you. My heart warmed. Are you sure, son? Springfield is a small town. You were used to Chicago. I'm sure, he said, because I've finally understood what's important. A big house, an expensive car, social media. Those things don't matter. What matters is family. And you're my family. I held his hand. And you're my son. A few months later, Amanda came to visit me. She had finished law school and was now interning at a family law firm. Mrs. Sullivan, she said, I've made a decision. I'm going to specialize in elder law. Because your story showed me that older people are very vulnerable, and we need to protect them. I smiled. Henry would be proud of you, Amanda. I'm proud of you, she said. You're my hero. April 2027. I was 69 years old. I still lived in my house in Springfield. Daniel was still living with me, but he was preparing to get his own apartment. He had a new girlfriend, Sarah, a teacher. She was a good girl, warm, honest. Jessica? We hadn't heard from her. We heard she'd moved to Miami, started a new life. Good for her. Everyone deserves a second chance. Amanda was working at a law firm and had specialized in elder law. She still came to visit me once a month. We'd have tea. And me? I got up every morning, tended to my garden, read books. I chatted with the neighbors. My life was simple, but I was happy. Because I now knew true power isn't in money, a house, or status. True power is in knowing yourself, standing tall, and never staying silent. One day, Daniel brought me a box. Mom, I found this in Dad's basement. I want to give it to you. I opened the box. Inside were Henry's old letters. I opened one. Date, 1985. Our 10th wedding anniversary. Dear Margaret, you are the strongest woman I know. No matter what life throws at you, you stand tall. Never forget you are a warrior. And I am proud of you. With endless love, Henry. Tears began to flow. But this time, they were tears of joy. Thank you, Henry, I said quietly, for believing in me. This story was about a woman's courage. Margaret Sullivan didn't stay silent when she was betrayed. She stood her ground, she fought, and she won. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and comment. I'd love to know where you watched it. What are your stories? Have you ever faced such a situation?